Hi, and welcome to Rudy's Movie Reviews, San Antonio's unofficial movie critic, and welcome to episode 4. We're on 4 already.
4.
Of Rudy and his Superfriends, where I bring a good buddy of mine to the house and we talk about one of our favorite movies. And today, Chris and I, who I introduced about a month ago on Instagram, we're going to talk about the 1980 classic. 80, right?
79.
79 classic.
Close.
The Warriors, directed by Walter Hill, and we'll talk about some cool scenes and how it's just a cult classic and really one of our favorite movies that we talk about.
Yeah, it's got a lot of cool dark theme to it, a lot of gangs, a lot of cool colors, a lot of unique.
A lot of cool gangs. One of my favorites, the Furies.
Yeah.
And I know this is not this movie authentic, but it's the closest thing I had to that. But real quick, before I actually get started on the video, I just wanted to say thank you for the overwhelming response. I've had my friend Andrew, I've had Martin Johnson on here in the studio with me. This studio, it's my living room. And now I have Mr. Chris here, and I have to acknowledge, sir, the ladies love you.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes, I
married. Sorry.
Yeah, he's taken. So hey, it is what it is. But yeah, I had quite the response from the female demographic on all my social media channels. And yes, I got a little jealous because you took my thunder. What the hell is this?
And we're syncing.
And syncing, yeah. Let's fix this. So yes, I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you for the response. You're a fan favorite so far. You're more famous than Andrew and Martin. So that's the momentum there. Let's use that.
That's kind of hard to beat. I've seen those guys. They're
not as handsome. Did I just say it on camera? All right, so let's get started. On the Warriors. You want to say the line, or do you want me to say it?
You say it.
Can you dig it, suckers?
Who are the Warriors?
There you go. Now, the first question I want to ask Mr. Chris is, like, you're definitely a lot younger than me. I am your elder here. Yeah. So I remember the Warriors as a kid. I was like maybe 2 or 3 years old. So I remember growing up and it having a certain aurora about it, like you had to check it out. So you coming in the 90s or whatever you came in, how did you find out about the Warriors? When did you first discover them?
So I think I was probably 9 years old, and I was rummaging through a closet and I found one of my father's old leather vests for when he was back on his bikes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I put it on. I asked him, hey, I was like, Dad, this fits. And he's like, you know what? You look like a warrior. I was like, what's that? And then he straight up showed me the movie, and as soon as I watched it, my mom was pissed, first off, because there was a lot of violence. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. You kind of know you don't see violence a lot.
That and the Warriors don't mix together.
Yeah, unless it's in the Bible. Anyway.
Okay,
bye-bye. So I watched the movie, and instantly the first thing that stuck out about the movie was not only the music and how kind of creepy it was. I mean, I was 9 years old. I mean, I couldn't even watch Tales from the Crypt. So, I mean... But,
Really?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, I couldn't watch any of that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, the train scene was pretty iconic with the Wonder Wheel in the background, the lights, the music. I mean, that was the first thing that, I think that was their goal when they were making the movie, was to catch the viewer's attention immediately. And I was 9 years old, and it caught my attention before the blood and the violence kicked in. All
right, so your dad introduced the Warriors to you. That's actually pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. For myself, like I said, I grew up and it was just one of those movies that you saw on HBO, and then I was a kid, so we played outside a lot. So the chances of me seeing it were very rare. But one of my cousins had it on Laserdisc.
Oh wow!
Believe it or not, those big old albums. Wow. Yeah. So I remember seeing it, and to all of us, it captured our imaginations, because back in the 80s, you can look at all the B movies like Death Wish and the low-budget horror movies. Everything kind of felt like things were going to hell. New York, Times Square had like this I guess, idea of that it was just going to hell. There's all these gangs, you're losing control. It was in the comics and Daredevil, and it was all over in film. Even the Police Academy movies, all these degenerate gang members.
Yeah.
So this was a movie that really took that element. It was really one of the first but it added character to these gangs, and I think that's what helped stand out with me and my friends, because they're real cool gangs like the Furies. I mean, come on, they don't say a word.
I mean, they get off of their day job and go dress up as MLB players with face paint.
And the face paint was actually inspired by Kiss.
By Kiss.
Yeah, so Kiss was a big rock band back in the day. I mean, for those who don't know. The gangs, the identity, the Electric Dragons, the Orphans, everybody, the Lizzies, everybody stood out, and the name matched the look and character of the gang, and I think that's what I loved about it, and that's why it's timeless. And it actually also reminded us as kids as a video game.
Yeah.
Because you have a character stuck in one place, they want to get home, and there's all these stages and events they have to go through. So I remember it having like a video game feel.
Yeah.
So speaking for myself, of course. Now before we continue, I want to talk about how Cyrus was really a visionary.
Can you count, suckers?
And he was ahead of his time, because the whole movie starts off with just narration. You have all these guys talking about, hey, what's going on, and what do you know about Cyrus, man? Magic.
What do you know about Cyrus?
Magic. Whole lot of magic.
What do you know about Cyrus?
He's the one and only.
They edified him very well. If he was a supreme leader.
Yeah, so when I remember as a kid watching it, everyone spoke of Cyrus, like, yeah, I can't wait to see him. So there's this montage of all these gangs going to this big meeting, and I found out, just doing some research, that a lot of the gangs that were in that scene were actually real gang members.
Yeah.
Because they needed extras, so
that's right.
What better way to get real authentic looking gangsters and getting them from New York?
Well, they were cheaper too.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they were for free or not, but yeah, they did, they got them there. But yeah, and to your point, what you said, I mean, this guy had a plan. He goes, we're fighting over turf, little piece of turf.
Yeah.
That's my Cyrus impression.
Yeah.
And he goes, if we band together, there's like, what, 40,000, I don't know the numbers, 40,000 gang members versus 20,000 the New York Police Department.
60,000 soldiers. There ain't but 20,000 police in the whole town. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yeah.
That line is like timeless. That character is timeless. Yeah. I mean, it is just a small scene, but all the hype that's built up for Cyrus, and he's gone right away, it's kind of like immortalized him.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of think about the history. I mean, there was a lot of big speakers giving a lot of big speeches and motivational speeches like that.
Yeah.
Then getting assassinated, and they did that.
Very good point. Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
There's a lot of history, and if you think about it, those people that are in the gangs are old enough to be raised in that time to see these people be assassinated or hear about it on the news. Mm-hmm. And you see it happen right in this movie, and it happens to the one and only person that was going to unite the whole city.
Yeah, that's a very good point, man. You actually got me like, I don't have the words. If you think about any leader historically, you can name a bunch of people, but someone coming to unite everybody under one umbrella who is like a revolutionary type of person, they always get assassinated.
That's exactly right. Well, yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Cyrus was a hero.
He's like Jesus. I think, and then I think the biggest thing that stuck out after that was Ajax,
the man,
James Remar. Yeah, I mean he stole the show for me. I mean, he had the gloves, he had the black tank top with the vest. I mean,
he had the attitude.
Maybe we'll get to waste a few heads along the way.
Like I want to kick some ass attitude, and also get some strange women.
Strange wool.
Strange wool. You're right.
One thing we might get out of Cyrus's little get together is meeting some strange wool. I wouldn't mind laying a little something down on the way back.
Yeah, that's another thing. Their jargon. Yeah,
it's awesome, right?
The things they say, like, we're gonna get like, what the hell is that? Is it like, Ajax is definitely not the model of the movie. I think if anybody was supposed to have an icon or role model, I think it would probably be like Swan.
Probably.
I mean,
yeah.
Or Cyrus. I mean, he had the biggest gang in New York, the most powerful, the Gramercy Riffs. I mean, I mean they were pretty badass. They knew kung fu, and they wore robes.
I mean, how legit is that?
Oh, and they also wore aviators.
At night.
At night. Like, way before the song. I wear my sunglasses at night. Anyway, that's not coming into the video.
Yes, it is.
So there is one thing I do want to bring up that we haven't talked about. We talked about a lot of the gangs, a lot about the Warriors and the different types of gangs. But there's one big one that we completely didn't talk about, and that is the Rogues. That's the one. Yeah, I mean, it was the villain of the show. This guy, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. If you have seen the movie, continue to watch. If you haven't, please pause, watch the movie, press play when you're done.
You're natural.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
God, all right. I'm just going to shut up.
The Rogues. Luther is the leader. He's played by David Patrick Kelly. He's been in a lot of movies as a villain, bad guy. And he's the guy, yes, iconic scene of the Warrior, cling, 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 come out to play.
Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play.
I mean, this dude was nuts. I mean, it was one of his first movies. He came in, this shaggy hair, ugly, drunk, alcoholic fiend of a street rat. And I mean, he played the part rough, man. I mean, he one of the best lines in the movie was when they asked him, "Why'd you shoot Cyrus?"
Yeah.
And the first thing he says, "No reason.
Yeah.
I like to do things like that."
No reason. I just like doing things like that.
And I'm like, dude, this guy is just careless. And he reminds me of somebody. It's like the scene in Batman when Alfred tells Batman there's some people that just like to see the world burn. He is that guy. He loves to see the world burn. He just likes to do things for no reason.
Yep.
I mean,
wow.
It's just such a good part for him. And I think his potential from that exploded, but I mean, he kind of, you know, he didn't get into a huge roles. I mean, he was always supporting roles, but he destroyed that part, and I think he made the Warriors. And then the iconic scene that everybody knows about, which is the Warriors come out and play, was completely improv.
Yeah, and I was gonna get to that. You know where he came up with that? He said he lived in some shady apartment in New York while filming, and he had this neighbor who would taunt him. The guy was into drugs. He can hear things going on next door. That's creepy. And he would taunt him. His name's David, right? He said he'd be in the middle of the night. He'd be in bed and he'd hear through the walls, David, come out and play.
Oh, that's creepy.
And that freaked him out. So it was this creepy neighbor that gave him the idea, and he went ahead and improvised on the set, but it was inspired by a creepy neighbor. Isn't that something?
That's too much. Ugh, that's weird.
Can you imagine? That's crazy. In the middle of the night.
Bop his way out of there.
No, hey.
Maybe that neighbor should have got wrecked. Maybe if he was standing there knocking on the door, he should have walked out and I don't know.
All right, you can stop. So let me ask you, Chris, again, you caught the film later in life. Your dad introduced you to the film. So let me ask you, why do you think the Warriors has lasted so long? That's a great question.
It's a great question, and I think the biggest reason for that is that the time it came out, it was before its time. And then after we kind of got exposed to the grittiness of television and movie making and production, there's a few of us that showed their kids, and their kids fell in love with it, because if you think about it, it was the turn of the century. I mean, the music was 70s going into 80s, kind of like...
It's got a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack. I mean, it's really good music, and then, you know, it's like I said, the turn of the century piece, and then you get to the 80s and 90s kids, and in the 80s, how old were you? I don't know. You're
I was born in 70s.
40s? You were 40 and 80?
You bastard. I was in kindergarten in 83, so I was under 10. I mean, I was like 11 by 89 and all that.
So there you go, right there, right there. That is the birth of the official nerd. So we find things like comic books, we reinvent them and make them amazing, and they go on forever. Just like the movie The Warriors, there's a big cult following for them. I mean, I went to New York in my junior year for choir. On the side of in the street, on the square, like seeing all the tourists and people walking, there was people walking around with Warriors vests, because it's a big memorabilia of New York. It puts New York in the movie staple, I guess you will, you know? And the Warriors became a big staple for New York and Coney Island. You can go there online right now and find Warriors vest and shirts and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's like the Goodfellas for Jersey. Hey, go get your fucking shine box.
Motherfucker. Okay.
Keep him here. Keep him here.
We're way off now. Okay, now to why I think the movie's lasted so long. You know what? I'll answer it this way. It's unique. As of all the gang movies that are out there, early 80s, mid 80s, late 70s, there was a whole bunch, but this one stood out, as I mentioned earlier, because of the structure and the character and the identities of gangs. It didn't matter what type of person you were, shy, tough like Ajax, or leader, you can identify with anybody within the Warriors gang. Yeah. But not just that, from a personality standpoint, from a visual standpoint, you can identify with if you love baseball, if you wanted to be a mime. Mime, yeah. Or if you wanted to be, what's those guys that look like MC Hammer with the glasses? What are they called?
The Gramercy Riffs?
Yes, Riffs, right?
Yeah, right.
War to your mother. No, that's not it. But you can identify with any gang, and I just love how each gang was unique and had certain leadership attributes and traits, and it stood out. Now, to continue to my point, I am also kind of with the Alamo City Comic Con here in San Antonio, and last year we had a Warriors reunion, and I got to meet a lot of the cast members, and it's amazing how all men, women, and really all ages, to your point, kids and guys my age and older, they were just in awe meeting their heroes, because these guys really meant something to them, and they connected to us at a certain time in the 80s, where this is before MTV. So connecting with something visually on screen was important, and this movie offered that to us. Well, you've covered the video. I mean, you've covered everything as far as a good closing piece on with how timeless the movie is and what makes it special, that I've got nothing to say.
Awesome. Seems like a job well done.
I guess so. You did a lot of the work. You did a lot of the heavy lifting on this video.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Because I'm old, apparently. You mentioned that 4 fucking times.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean...
But this was fun, dude. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And folks, I hope you enjoyed it too. This was a great conversation we had on the Warriors. Again, we didn't spoil anything.
Except for Cyrus dying.
But everybody knows that. I mean, come on.
The Rogues, Warriors make it.
So there you have it. So it's a great movie. I'm pretty sure it's in your Blu-ray collection. Check it out if you haven't done so. It's a timeless classic and one of the personal favorites that'll outlive all of us.
Yeah, it's got a long future.
It does. Well, Mr. Chris, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me, man.
Appreciate it. You know what movie we're going to talk about next? We haven't even talked about that. We need to figure out the next film we're going to discuss.
I think we ought to go do a comedy. How about some Mel Brooks or some Gene Wilder?
I would love to do Blazing Saddles, but I'm terrified.
So when it comes to...
I want to do it, but I'm scared out of it.
I mean, I would love to do a review on Don Rickles and Ronnie Dangerfield, because you can't say shit like that anymore.
Back to School would be awesome. Back to School!
Back to School.
Great.
I mean, hey, I never read the book, but I saw the movie.
Okay, that's perfect. Let's do that. Folks, we're all going to get laid!